Hey Profit Bulls, what are support and resistance? Yo, it's Dom here, so let's take a moment and talk about the support and resistance levels and how to use them. Hey, what's going on, guys? So what we're looking at here is a chart of Goldfield, and we're going to do a little bit of support and resistance levels, and we're going to cover a few different stocks. So let's get to it. So we're going to start with this one right here, GFI. Let's find a couple support and resistance. We're looking at the 1 year, 1 delta time frame. That's right here. So as you can see, there's a double top, triple top here, even a quadruple top here. So you can do your support. This would be one of your supports here. Before it was a resistance. Anything underneath this would be resistance. You could see that, and your support would have been yeah, roughly right about here. You can see that it bounced over here as well. There would have been another one right about here as well. You can see that by these ones here. I mean, yeah, it broke through, but it still pulled back up and continued. So you could have made profit from here, you know, up to here, and just played within these bands. Let's get closer to the actual time frame what we're working with now. You can see here's that coronavirus fall off here, and the stock had a gap. It closed here on a doji. It went up and it had a pullback to the support, you know, and it busted through the resistance. Now this resistance is now a new support, and you can see that here was a resistance level. It did, you know, try to go up, but the next, you know, couple days it, you know, had a pullback, a dip to the support level. And then, the next few days, it gapped here and it gapped again, and it's continued to uptrend. And there's another one, roughly about here, with these candles a little bit, but really with this one here and this one for a support. And you can see that it did pull back to a support, and now it's currently moving in an uptrend. So anytime when a stock busts a report and holds above it, it becomes a anytime when a stock busts over resistance, it becomes a new support. Yeah, it was trading down here. We could probably zoom out a little bit and see exactly this area here, why it pulled down here. So let's right about here, these bottom candles on these days here, and this one here. So, I mean, it did pull back down to the support level of these previous candles, and then it continued to try to bust the resistance, which it did a couple days, but then it had a, pull back, and then it busted again. Then it had another pull back down to support area, and it busted, and it clearly went up to the resistance up here, and had another pullback. And it was just, trading within this time frame here. When you look at the 180-day chart, 180-day 4-hour chart, we can get a little better understanding of what's going on. So it's doing the same thing. It pulled back down to past support, and it blew through the resistance here, blew this through this resistance here, and it hit this resistance and had a pullback, had a fall off. This time frame here, down here at the bottom, would have been the coronavirus taking effect, and it tried to push again, and it just fell to support. And then here clearly you can see that it had an uptrend, a clear uptrend to here. So if you would have bought here and held, you would have definitely made profits over the next 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, roughly 9, 10 days. You could have sold, around this area here, but it did hold support here. But anyways, you still made profit. You could have bought in here and then continue to play it up. When you look at the 5-day, 5-minute, gives you a little bit better understanding what's happening over the past 5 days. So it's just been having a sell-off. Then it had a low within the 5-day, a low, and then it just gapped up during after market hours, and it had a pullback pre-market hours, and then it started to push throughout the day, and it just fell off again. But then after market hours into the pre-market hours, it just pushed and then did the same exact thing, and it looks like it's just doing the same thing. It would push midday and then just fall down. Here it had two double tops, pretty much triple almost, but two real double tops, and it couldn't hold, and it just pushed down, but it just, it's moving up. You can see that it's moving up on the chart here, on the 5-minute chart, from here, up to here. So that's how you read support and resistance. Let's look at another one. Let's go to another year mark out. Pick another one, tech. So this one is a constant downtrend. You could definitely see that it was definitely a downtrend here, and it it was just moving. It was making lower lows and lower highs. Higher lows. High, low, high, low, and it just continued even through the coronavirus. Even last year, it was already dropping, and we were getting into the new year here, and it was just dropped off, and it hit a low of $5.60, and it's trying to recover now, but there are some areas of resistance, like you'll see this one right here. You can see this one right here. This is definitely a resistance. This is one support. This would be another one. Let's zoom in. So this middle one I just put in, you had these two candles here, roughly this candle here bouncing in between the support and resistance. Clearly these candles here and these candles here. So it is bouncing in between this small range right now for the last about 10 days or so. So 2 weeks it's just been bouncing in between here, between 826 and 905. I mean, that is a, just under a 25-cent gap, which is still profitable if you can manage to buy here and just sell here. That's, that's money being made. And you can see down here that from this candle going up, it is showing signs of a continuous uptrend. It does have a bounce, and it is bouncing every time. It's bouncing at the support of the vertical support, pretty much, and then you got your resistance. So once this clearly busts above the resistance and holds above here, then you can expect the next one to be right about here. Around this mark here, you can see these candles here, right here, and these two here, or the bottoms here. It just depends. That's why you never really sell at 1058. Around 1058, you might want to put a sell order for maybe 1048, so you can get filled. But that is this is showing signs of a continuous uptrend. And you can clearly see that, and it's bouncing between right now. The last, like I said, 2 weeks roughly has been bouncing between the support and the resistance. It tried to bust here and it didn't hold. The next day it had a gap down, and it pretty much almost touched the support, had a gap again, a little baby gap, just traded within a very small range, and it tried to push, couldn't hold, and it had a pullback. Here's that hammer. This hammer is showing signs of an uptrend, a reversal pattern. So you can, like I said, you can theoretically see the stock going from here up to about 1040-ish. That is still percentage to be made from 880 to 1040, give or take. It's all about maximizing profits and capitalizing. So this is a potential that I see. Actually, I'm going to write this one down. I'm going to trade this one probably this coming week. So what is this? Tech. Okay. So let's look at the 180-day chart. So as you can see, that it was still continuing to move down in a descending pattern, making higher lows and lower lows. Coming over here, you see that it started trading within that small range that we were just talking about. This would probably have been a coronavirus fall off here, and it had a 2-day support here, and then it started just picking up, and then yeah, you can mark this one as another support area here, and then it just continued to move up, and it met its resistance here, had a pull back to the support level area. I mean, if it busts support, it's okay. It clearly didn't come to this support here, but it is hitting the vertical line. And then it tried to hold above the support again, and then now it touched the vertical, and then it's pushing past the resistance, past this resistance. So this is now acting as a support level, and you can see that it's just trading in between this range right now. And if honestly, I looked at my other indicator. Let's see. If I bring this other one over with all these lines. So I'm using the 4 EMA. 4 EMA. If the blue, green, yellow, if in this order, if the blue, green, yellow, and red is reversed, so blue, green, yellow, and red, that means the stock is trending up. And it looks like here that the blue, green, yellow is starting to show signs of an uptrend. So that means this red line here will pass underneath. Therefore, it would be the blue, green, yellow, and red. This is Nikola Tesla's 369 theory, and I will cover that in a total different video on how to use this setup here. But I just want to show you that you can see with the levels here, with the MACD indicator. Excuse me, with the MACD indicator right here, MACD. The lines are pretty close. But for this week, I can expect this stock theoretically, to hit 812, but it has to pass this resistance, and anything can determine that. It could be news, good news, overall market in the Dow Jones or Nasdaq or S&P 500, and then you can have a continuation for the next couple days to to move up to here. This is another support, or excuse me, a resistance area of 180 days. So now what I want to do is I'm going to set an alert for this one. I'm going to set alert right here. So right click, create alert. So I want to be notified when this alert takes off, or when this stock takes off, it's going to notify me. So I'm going to go ahead and write this stock down as well. This is tech, still tech. Okay, my bad. So it is tech, and we want to see if it's going to move above that line. Okay, there's my alert, my little arrow. So let's look into the, let's go back over here to 180 day. So we have my alert here. Right here is that. Here's my alerts, and you could change this over to have it just sit on the side. But for right now, we'll just go over the chart patterns here. So it could continue going up. So let's look at the 5-day, 5-minute chart. So you can see that it had a single top. It just could not hold. It just continued to go down. And this would have been the 13th. But it had a gap up, which is good. So if you bought here and just sold here, you would have made, let's see what kind of potential. You would have had roughly around 2.7% profit. You're saying it might not be a lot, but hey, it's better than nothing. And then it continued to downtrend. And that's what you want to see. You want to make sure that when you read your chart patterns, if it's not holding here, I would sell this first candle, this first red candle, because it's clearly not going to pass. It's clearly not going to pass. So you've seen that it was on a downtrend, right? And the next day you're like, let me buy in again. It could go up because this day spiked. This day spiked like this here. Right here, it spiked like that. Well, that's why you watch pre-market. Here you can't see pre-market, obviously, and but here you can see that it was gapping down. If for this stock here to be moving down, I would wait for a support area to buy. So you could have played this one buy here, and then if it had a small stop like that, I would have probably just sold right there. And then you can see clearly the next day that it was gapping down pre-market. These little dashed white lines are these ones here are showing that the stock is going to go down, and it does. It goes down to around that vertical trend. that trend here, and then you know, it reverses. You can see that by these candles here, and it continued to go up. It passed the resistance, and it held around the resistance, and it continued to go up after hours. Throughout the rest of the day. So right here to here, you would have made a decent profit. We're talking about 790. If you would have bought in on the second green candle here, you know, for confirmation that it's moving up, you could have theoretically made 8.3%. That is a quite substantial amount of money. I mean, if you, depending on how much money you put in, obviously the more shares you own of the company, the more money you're going to get out of it. But hey, all these small shares add up over time, and that's what you want to be paying attention for. Now, if you would have hold it for the next day, because if you've seen, hey, yeah, you know, it held above the support level. Let's see what pre-market's going to hold like. Pre-market. Okay, had a pullback. You know, it's staying above the support level still. Let's see what happens. Let's go in 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35. Let's look at let's pay attention for an hour to see what happens. You know, hour after the market opens, you know, you can clearly see that it had an upside down hammer, which does signify, not a lot of times, but it does signify a reverse trend in the daily. Because we're looking at the 5-day. In the daily, it went up, you know, it traded sideways, and then it pushed up after hours. All right. So that's another chart that we're looking at here. So let's go over another one. We'll go back to the 1 year time frame. DVN. Let's see what DVN has. Alright, so you can see that clearly DVN in the 1 year time frame has been moving down. It almost had a double topper right about here with this and this. You know, it's moving down. It definitely had a triple top here, and it pushed down. Here's that coronavirus fall off. Here's that gap down now, and it hit a support area around this area here. So 470 was a support, and it's currently at 1195. So with that, if you would have bought here, you would have definitely, you know, had a good chance. I mean, here you would have had a perfect chance of a play. So let's look at some. Here's a support. Here's another support. There's another support with these two candles here and these candles here. There's probably one more. Right about here with this candle here, and this candle here. You can clearly see that you know, it busted through the resistance. You know, it held for a few days, had a pullback to the resistance. If you would have did this like this, put another resistance support level in, you can see that this candle did pull down, and it pushed back up between the support and resistance. It blew through this resistance here, and it hit this resistance. So now this is acting as a support area, and now here's the resistance. And this would have been a double top if it couldn't beat above this here. But you can clearly see it had a pullback to support area, and it blew right back through the resistance. 3 days in a row it held, and then here's that gap, and then the gap again, and now it's, you know, at the support level up here. So here's that resistance, what we're looking at right now. So this is a good stock to see, because you're currently moving in a uptrend just like that. So, you know, it started here, had a pullback, came up here, had a pullback again. It traded up again, had a pullback to here, which is okay. It doesn't have to touch a line all the time, but it did touch a support, and it went up, touched resistance. So now we're at a double top, which normally can signify a downwards trend. It could signify a downwards trend, but it looks like it's going to go for another top, which would make it a triple top. If it can't pass this, I'm expecting the stock to go to one of these support levels here. This is earnings. I guess they didn't have great earnings because it's a red day. I mean, but it did hold above the support and resistance level, and even though it had a bad day and 2 red days in a row, they they seen potential in this company, and it is an energy company. So that's another example. So let's look at the 180-day 4-hour. So you can clearly see that there's that fall off from up here from the coronavirus, and it tried to hold at the support here, but it just couldn't gap down. It tried to push through the resistance, and it just couldn't hold, and it pushed down to an all-time, well, a year low of a 470, and it is a long hammer, and it now is signifying a reverse trend. So now it's, it pushed through this resistance, had not so good of a day here, came down to the support area. It traded, within this range here, and it just, continued to push up. Couldn't touch this, but it's okay, because if you look right about here, would have been, excuse me, right about here would have been a resistance area with these candles here. You can see that with here, it tried to push up. It did push up, and it continued, and it had a pullback, which would have been these candles here, would have been that pullback. And it continued to trade within the support and resistance levels. That's why these support and resistance levels really do work, and you can, capitalize and maximize your profits just off the base of this pattern here. That, hey, it's at support now. Let's look. Okay, it's holding for a couple days. It looks good. It's a good sign. Let's buy. You could even wait another day. Let's buy here, because this is the same exact pattern almost. Look at that. These 2 days here are same exact patterns almost. So you could say, yeah, I'm gonna just wait till the next day. I'm gonna buy here, and it just clearly goes up, passes this day here, after market hours actually, and it just continues to go up. Now it's at a new support resistance area, and it just blew through the top, and it had another pullback or a dip, and this would have been a perfect dip buy, because at 1072 you could have traded roughly at 1260, put a stop limit order in for 1260 and sold it, and right now it's currently having that support in the resistance area. Okay, let's take a look at the 5-minute. 5-minute is showing the same exact thing. It had a at market open. It had a pullback, a dip, which is okay. You can expect that always on stocks. Have a dip in the morning or throughout the day, and it clearly hit the support level here. Resistance level, and it just pulled down throughout the day. But it closed, above. Or right at pretty much the candle here where it opened at, and then the next day it pushed up past the resistance. Now it's acting as support, and then it had a pullback. It tried to hold above the support / resistance, couldn't, and it just blew through the support level, and it just continued on a downtrend. So this is something you want to pay attention to. You just don't want to trade like, the stock is going to go. Just pay attention. Sometimes it's actually really good to wait for your day trades, for your stock to settle out. Look at this. If you would have bought here, you would have probably been depressed because you're losing so much money, and you might have sold around here, or even market open with this gap down. You'd have been like, oh man, I want to sell because it's so bad. And now look at that. You sold here. And now it's reversing, It reversed. It's, this Thursday is high, and Friday went even higher and just had a pullback. I mean, now we can expect that the stock will, go up to at least 1272 again. And, this is where you want to take your profits. I mean, that's what I would do. So, yeah. Let's look at one more, and then we'll wrap this one up. So let's look at... Let's look at XME. So let's go back to the year chart. So here's that coronavirus fall off. Here it's been trading within the range. Remember that, the range. It's been trading within this range here and this range here. So you could clearly see that you could have made money with this one. You could see that here as well with this area. You could have made money. And obviously you wouldn't want to jump in on a coronavirus down from 29 to down to 1360. A lot of people actually did pull their stocks out. Not everybody, a lot of people. A lot of people shorted this stock. And also did put options on these type of stocks here because they're making tremendous amount of money on the way down. Especially if you bought in the money, you're definitely on the downside. You could have possibly made anywhere from a couple hundred to a couple thousands to even in the double-digit thousands on the way down. So let's bring this in. So now we've seen that the coronavirus tipped off here, and there's that support level by these candles here, and there would have been another one right about here, one right about there, and a double top up top, a triple top actually with this candle here on the way down. Is not really considered, but you can consider it because obviously it could not pass here and here. So for me, this would be considered a triple top. You can clearly see that it passed down through to the support area of 1386, and it did pull down roughly close to that before, around 14 bucks. And then it reversed. It had a gap up, and it traded within this range here for a few days. So if you were just holding this stock, for a couple days around this buy-in down here, and you're like, okay, let's see if it doesn't touch support again, then I'm going to hold the stock. And look at that, it busted through resistance. Even though it had a bad day, it busted through. The next day was okay. Then it had a gap up from here to here, had a gap up, and it touched the resistance up here. So you could draw your resistance lines just pretty much not really based off of this candles here, but at least this candle here, you could have been like, okay, that wick could be one, which it is one. You can see that by this one and this one. And the support levels, you could have drawn off these candles in this range here if you didn't buy here. So it clearly busted through the resistance here, and now it's acting as a support. It's trading up, then trading back down to support, and trading up to resistance. And the next day it had a gap up and busted through, had a pullback, hovered around a support resistance area, had a double top, had a pullback, and now it looks like it's wanting to push again. So what we're going to do is we're going to draw this wick candle with the trend line going like this. So now this is a diagonal trend line. Don't know why I couldn't think of that. A diagonal trend line of a support level area. So you can see that it did bounce off here, and now it can continue to go up. And you could see this. Let's say if we played this day out the rest of this week, right, or this upcoming week or into next week. Let's say it did have a triple top and it bounced to here. We could see that maybe in the near future that if it does bounce like this one did, then it can continue to move up. But if it breaks this and pushes down to this, then just pay attention to, okay, it's at this support level now here. It didn't hit my diagonal. It blew through my diagonal, and now it's at this one here. If it's here in the next 2 days it bounces below, well, you know what? Here's your next support level right about there off of these candles here. And maybe that's the new support, then you could, wait a day or two to buy back in and, see if it's going to move up again. This is definitely a resistance with a 3 triple top, or 4 in this case would be 4, hypothetically 4. And you're going to see if it wants to blow through that one. If it does, then, then you have this group here of resistance, and this line from back here, and this one, and this one. So let's look at the 180 day. 180 day, you're going to have that gap off from the coronavirus. It had that support area here, and it had, you could clearly see that gap up, what I was talking about earlier, and it traded within this range here from 1565 to 1691 roughly. So if you're like, wow, the last 2 days or so, or 3 days, with just looking at this, with 3 days it's just been hovering, or 4 days, sorry, 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, it's just been hovering right here. Yeah, let me buy in, on this one, maybe, or just buy this dip here because it's holding above this support level. And there's a resistance. You could clearly see it here. There's a resistance. Let's go ahead and sell it. Do a sell order for 1672. And then obviously it fell again to the support. Had a good day, but it still had a bad day after hours. And then this day pushed down again, and now it just blew through the top. This is clearly a gapper. And it blew through the top of the resistance and now became a support. So if you would have held these few days, if you did not sold or sold partial shares, where 3/4 or something like that, and you can test the waters to see if it goes up, and you can also add to your position when it goes up. If it's holding, here's that support. If it's holding, you could add to your position, and sold up here, and the same thing. Sold a little bit more, buy in here. Ride it up, sold a little bit more. I wouldn't buy here. Well, at maybe market open, I would have bought here because it could have been something about the news came out. Bought here and sold here. Had that pullback. Let's see where that support level is with the next 2 days. Okay, it's holding. Buy in here. Okay, it couldn't pass up. Maybe hold it again for a few more days and then sell here at the resistance. This would be that double top we're talking about. And now it just blew through the support level. Then it had, there's another support right in this line here by these candles. You can see that, but you don't want too many of these lines all over the place. And now it's working its way up, trying to pass resistance. It couldn't on this day. It could not on this day go, it could not push through that. So maybe on Monday, this coming Monday, the 18th, then we'll see if it passes right through that. I'm going to be curious. I'm going to put a alert order here, and I just want to monitor this for future reference. XME. So XME, alert for 1920 to see if it goes back up. And then maybe we could I'll do a follow-up video on this, and then we'll see if any of the ones tech and XME are right. We'll see if it continues up, and then we'll go from there. Alright guys, well, that's going to wrap this up here with the support and resistance area. Excuse me for that. If you have any, let me know if you have any comments or any questions about support and resistance, or how would you use the support and resistance. Leave those in the comments below. Hit the thumbs up. Hit the subscribe if you haven't. Until next time, team.